I'm Dr. Kimberly Manning.
And this is Dr. Ashley McMullen. And you're listening to the Human Doctor Podcast, where we explore the human side of medicine, along with teaching, living, learning, and all things in between. Using the power of storytelling, conversation, and connectedness.
Hey, we're two dope academic internal medicine doctors, but we ain't your doctors. So if you perceive anything we say here as medical advice, no, it ain't that. Also, the things we say, they only reflect our brilliant Black woman magic mind and not our employers.
You could have been anywhere, y'all, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate you. Let's go.
This thing is being recorded.
Yes, we are all the way live.
All the way live, SGIM.
For real.
I have an important question.
What is your question?
My important question to begin this discussion is about where we are. Are we at SGIM?
Yes.
Are we at SGIM? Or are we at SGIM? What do you think we're at?
SGIM. Does anybody agree with me on SGIM? Okay.
Raise your hand if you, or you could cheer if you say SGIM. Team SGIM. Okay, East Coast people, SGIM. We're the SGIM people. All right.
Man, that seems a little even.
I know, but it's our podcast, it's SGIM.
Yes.
All right, sis. So today we are here in not so sunny Boston.
Yes.
Where we are recording our podcast, the little podcast that could and did.
Yes.
You want to tell them about our high-tech operation?
I mean, as you guys can see, this was a really lengthy process that involved a lot of deliberation. And I want to give a special shout out to our folks at the Curbsiders. Thank you so much for coming in and saving the day. Yes.
That's the Curbsiders Teach.
Yes.
So we want to shout out the Curbsiders Teach. Put some respect on you for that, for your work. Thank you for your help with that. So usually what we like to do is we just kind of start off by kind of chopping it up and talking a little bit about what's going on in our worlds right now. Mm-hmm. And would love to hear a little bit about what's up with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to be back in Boston, particularly at SGIM. I feel like there's a sense of home and community here. So I'm really excited, not only just to be here, but like the fact that they let us come and record and do our thing. So shout out to the folks at SGIM for letting us be here. I think one of the things that I love the most is not only connecting with my colleagues, especially UCSF, shout out to our folks on the West Coast, we have a big presence here, but also getting to know and connect and network with some new folks that I have not had a chance to really meet before, especially when I get to hang out with Kimberly and her friends, and then they become my friends. So, you know, Kimberly has some real badass friends that I got to meet last night. We had a great dinner. And I want to also just recognize like some of the greatness that was in the room. Carrie Palomara, I found out was a master.
She's like a 2-year-old master in ACP. We never. Do y'all know what a master is? It's like a really big deal. Google it if you don't know what a master is. Most masters are like about 10 years older than me. Mm-hmm. Although I know I look young, y'all. Yeah, so that was dope.
Yes, I mean, Stacy was there. Stacy Higgins from Emory was, we were having a good conversation around kind of the trials and triumphs of mentorship. And so that was something it was nice to get a little bit of insight on because it's something that I am exploring now as a mid-career faculty. So I do a lot of mentoring as well.
Yeah, so you already shouted out UCSF, so I just have to say, Emory University Division of General Internal Medicine was in the building. We all have different academic homes, and since SGIM is ours, it really feels like homecoming. I was walking through the hallway. Where was I? Exhibition, yeah. And I was talking to someone about what it's like to be here, and I said, you know what? SGIM is like a HBCU homecoming, but not.
There's one thing missing from that.
Yes, the band. There's no band.
Yes.
But where you keep trying to get somewhere, and everywhere you get, you see somebody, and you're like, oh my God, you look good. And whether you look good or not, where are you at? What you doing? Oh wow. But as we were together last night, it was just another piece of that homecoming where a lot of good friends, old friends, new friends all got together. And it's kind of this cool, like, commingling of talking about academic medicine stuff like mentoring and people becoming masters at the age of 2. But also us just hearing about each other's lives, kids going to college, kids, goofing off in class and me being mad when I talk to the teacher. All these different things that we end up talking about that are real life things. And, our whole reason why we do this podcast is about connection. And we heard this morning when we were listening to the plenary that, connection is just so incredibly important to everything that we do. And I think for all of you here, I hope that, those people that you're seeing and that you're hugging, take a moment to, take that selfie, get that phone number, stay connected, because that's the thing that keeps us alive and keeps us all from burning out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel you.
So what you learned this week?
So actually, this morning, I got a chance to go to a workshop talking about gender-affirming hormonal contraception.
Okay.
And it was actually really eye-opening because it's something that I hadn't really thought about before in terms of the interplay between, gender-affirming care and also thinking about how to effectively family plan.
Okay.
So I wanted to shout out that workshop. It was a really good session. One of my good friends and colleagues, Dr. Alana Garcia-Grossman, was helping co-lead that session. It was really informative.
Dope.
So, yeah.
Dope.
What about you?
Yesterday, I was in the poster sessions, and I saw a poster, I believe it was from the University of Wisconsin, and it was about IgA vasculitis in an adult. And the reason why I love these clinical posters is that someone recently called me about a person, an adult, who had abdominal pain and had a, air quotes, weird rash. And as generalists, everybody likes to send us their weird pictures and questions and cases. The best cases we see come from our family members sending them over text message. But I said, are you with the person? Can you put your hand over the rash? And they did. I said, is it raised? Does it feel lumpy? So it's palpable purpura. And I'm like, dude, that looks like IgA vasculitis, but it's a grown-up. I don't know what that is. So I was quite hyped when I walked into the SGIM poster session last night and saw somebody with a whole entire poster on this thing. I took pictures with the poster like it was mine. I was taking selfies and then texting my family like, yo, this is a thing. I mean, really, it's just that I'm a gunner, and it just told me I was right. That was really, because it could happen. And their patient was 67, so it was like a really interesting thing. So for those doing the clinical posters yesterday, I learned so much. I also learned about Stevens-Johnson syndrome and erythema multiforme, and how I've always taught people that it was just one spectrum, and I learned that, it's not quite that. That's not true. So any medical student, former of mine, that I told you that, hey, that ain't true. Don't tell nobody else that. So we're still, no matter how old you are, we're still learning, man. And when you put that work into those posters, and to some degree, we do stop and come see you, so it could be like your Easter speech where you can say your part. We do want to hear you say your presentation. But we want to learn too. And some of the ones I learned the most from were people I'd never met in my life. They just had a really interesting title and great pictures and information and explained it in a way that taught me something. So it was worth the time.
I love it. I love it. Okay, sis.
Yeah.
Wow.
What you reading?
Atomic Habits is actually the book that I'm reading now.
Yeah, I love that book.
Courtesy of Dr. Manning's strong recommendation.
James Clear.
Yes. As I am in the process of, trying to reinforce and also adopt some new habits to align better with my values and, trying to improve some health just within myself. So
that's what's up.
I'm here for it.
So you know what? Do you want to kind of shift gears and for the people who have never heard of our podcast, understand even how this all happened?
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How it popped off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think maybe we can start with a what.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the what, sis?
The what is connection, as some might have guessed. And I actually want to take y'all back to 2019. This was literally like 3 weeks into my faculty position. So it was a big transition period for me. Not only just emotionally, and professionally, I was actually literally transitioning my hair at that point. I had done what's called the big chop. Some folks in the audience are nodding because they know, but that's essentially where I stopped chemically straightening my hair and went natural for the first time since I was a child. And so I was kind of rocking this, teeny weeny afro. I was trying to find my footing in many ways. And that week, I got an email from a colleague of mine, Beth Harleman, who's an incredible human being. She's senior faculty at UCSF and also a great sponsor of mine. She sent me an email and was like, hey, this visiting professor is coming from Emory, Dr. Kimberly Manning. You may have heard of her. And I hadn't. I was one of a million who actually did not know who Dr. Kimberly Manning was because I was off of social media at that time and I was just like living under a rock. But this sponsor said, I think this is someone that you would want to meet. Is it okay if I put you on her schedule? And I said yes, because this sponsor is someone that I trust, who looks out for me. And I was just like, if you say it, then bet I'm there. So, of course, in preparation for, a meeting, you might want to look up a little bit about the person that you don't know. Of course, your CV was about a mile long, but I listened to your grand rounds and I was just like, wow, there's a lot that I really connect with here. So I went to the General that day to meet with you. I'm a VA doctor, by the way, for those who don't know. I went over to our safety net hospital, San Francisco General, to catch Dr. Manning there. I think it was the first time, actually the only time in my career that I've worn a dress to work. I remember that day. It was a Friday because I was going to a memorial service afterwards. And I was like, hey, I'll meet this person for one time. They're going to think I dress professionally every day. But, we met in a conference room, 5K8, and, talk about connection. It was one of those things. I think I started off a little nervous in terms of, trying to come with an agenda. But after a while, it was just us talking. And one of the things that stood out to me actually the most was that in the course of the conversation, you actually cried. You were telling me a story in which you openly shared tears and your vulnerability. And I was just like, wow, this incredible visiting professor is here. We're sharing this moment. And I thought that was, I don't know, it was just almost like a breath of fresh air, just us kind of being together, seeing each other. Yeah. What do you remember?
First of all, y'all, I cry every single day, 365 days per year. And I've just given up on trying to not cry. So the first thing I did in prep for this was sit some napkins here in case something happens. Mm-hmm. But I remember that was the second day of a 2-day visit. I was actually there invited by Gurpreet Dhaliwal. Shout out to Gurpreet, who listens to our podcast faithfully. And for those of you who've visited institutions, they will pack your schedule from sun up to sundown with 30-minute visits and 30-minute meetings with people. And so the first day was like that, with only a break for grand rounds. And then the following day, I was on the SF General campus, and it had just been a really full day. I was tired, and just one sidebar that day, I remember that I arrived that morning, and when I got there that morning, Bob Wachter, who is the chair of medicine at UCSF, met me and said, let's go upstairs to resident report. And as we walk into resident report, it's all these residents from UCSF, which, I didn't even get an interview at UCSF. So I was like, oh, Lord, these people are going to be smart up in here. He says, you know what I was thinking? Why don't we let Dr. Manning be the discussant of the mystery case? We're so lucky to have her here as our master visiting clinician. I was I almost had a heart attack. Oh my gosh. And it was just one of those moments where, the little prayer you say in your head real fast. Somehow the heavens opened up and somebody said something that I heard once in somebody's clinical vignette somewhere. And I was like, did you check a ferritin? And they were like, the ferritin was 13,000. I was like, that's a pivot point. I looked like a Mac up in there. I mean, that was all I had, but it was a great moment. So I was kind of on the high of that, but still having anxiety from it. And then one of my last meetings before the next burst of meetings was with this former chief resident. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know anything about Ashley McMullen. What I do know is that since they didn't give me any pictures and I saw the name Ashley McMullen, I was just expecting to walk in and see a sweet little Irish former chief resident waiting to meet me, but I walk in and here's this former chief resident with a teeny weeny afro, who's awkwardly in a dress and a backpack with both straps on. I do remember that. But as we started talking, I just kept thinking to myself, gosh, what would I have wanted? Wouldn't it have been so great for me to have had an encounter with somebody like not only another black woman, but a black woman who is not code switching and who is bringing her whole self into a space like, wow, what if that had happened to me, back, in the day? I just was very interested in her, and she was smart and she was kind. And the main thing I remember after that meeting is that I wanted to stay connected to her, and I wanted more of her, and all I had been given was 30 minutes. And the next part was supposed to be a break for me, a 30-minute break.
A much-needed break.
A much-needed break.
Yeah.
And I said, can we go and get coffee?
Yeah, and we did. We went to the little coffee cart outside of the General Hospital. I remember that moment too. Like, we got coffee, and it was just like kind of one of those moments where you're just like, we could just do the thing where we split ways, like, yeah, we'll connect again, maybe at a conference or something like that. But we actually exchanged numbers, and then in classic Kimberly fashion, took a selfie that first day, which I love because it's actually my benchmark for how much my hair has grown. But maybe what you didn't know at that time was just like how much I needed that. At that time, I felt quite unmoored, coming out of residency chief year, not quite sure what I wanted to do, just looking for a place to land, a soft landing, trying to figure out, like, who am I, and who are the people that support that, and having you there, like, I look back at it now, it's obvious, but even then, it was just like, that's a God moment.
Yeah. And it was bi-directional too, right? Because you think, for those of you who like sign up to be mentors, or who, meet with people who are junior to you, it gives you wings too. When you get senior and you keep trying your hardest to climb all the rungs on the ladder, there's a point where like somebody goes, okay, we promote you to professor. And then you get up there and you're like, now what? Well, now what do I do? Mm-hmm. And these moments where you meet and connect with people intentionally can really make a big difference. So hopefully, those of you who are senior or junior or mid-career or don't know what you are, just adding a layer of intention and shooting that text message to the person that you just met saying, hey, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. What's going on? Or throwing them on a workshop that they don't know about.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I
Classic.
do that a lot.
Yes, you do.
You mentioned your hair, so we're going to have to talk about hair for a moment. So in our intro, we always say that we're two dope academic physicians and black women. But if you are a black woman, a big part of, and if you're any person, you know what? No matter what you are, unless you don't have no hair, hair is a big deal. And we realized that every time we would talk to each other over Zoom or FaceTime, it would always end up going toward hair. And then a friend of mine gave my hair a name, and she named my hair Jules. Now, the person who named my hair Jules is Tabitha Brown, y'all, who I met before she was like super famous. So I like tell her, that's my flex. So Tab named my hair Jules, and as I started watching Ashley's hair evolve, I was like, your hair needs a name. Mm-hmm. You don't have a name? Mm-hmm. So we could talk about your hair like a person. And then we gave your hair a name. Mm-hmm. What's your hair's name?
My hair's name is Mahalia, for folks who may or may not know. So Mahalia actually has her own personality now. Some people recognize her before they actually know who I am, which I actually I'm not mad about. You know?
Somebody saw her yesterday because her hair was still in twists, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were Ashley because Mahalia looks totally different." I was like, "Oh my gosh, you listened to our podcast because you addressed her hair by name."
Yes.
So there are a few of you. Oh yeah, we named we named the hair of our server last night at dinner. Mm-hmm. Her hair was just so amazing. I was like, "Does your hair have a name? It needs a name." Yeah, Xiomara is the name I gave her hair. So I do need a moment to think. But if you come up to me, I might be able to give your hair a name. Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Yes, strongly recommend.
Yes. So after that, we got an opportunity to work together on the Nocturnist Black Voices in Healthcare podcast, which I do recommend you check out. And that drew us closer in these conversations that we would have we realize that, like, as people who listen to podcasts, and we realize, hey, you know what, there isn't anything that sounds like our conversations when we're on the phone or on these meetings. And wouldn't it be cool if something that sounds like the dinner that we had last night, where we're weaving in between, like, personal, girl, your hair, is that a twist out, or is that a, you know, whatever, and then back to stories. We realized that we wanted to create the podcast that we hungered to hear. So we're storytellers, both of us. We love telling stories, and began to take our conversations and then shift them to us alternating between each telling a story every week. So that's kind of how it all folded out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in the course of getting to know each other on the Black Voices in Healthcare series and kind of evolving in our connection, you know, lives.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how, you know, again, the seeds of mentorship and connection can evolve into something greater. And I think that is one of the things that has really been the biggest gift of our connection. I remember actually when we first started talking about doing our own podcast, I was actually at home during that time because my grandmother had a massive stroke. And my grandmother was like a mom to me. And so being there during that time and having Kimberly like calling, ministering to me, being there for me in ways that kind of go above and beyond, you know, just seeing me as a mentee was really, really important. And really, I think, served as part of the foundation for how this podcast evolved.
Yeah, so in that same vein, we were kind of in the throes of the podcast when my own father had a stroke, like just a year later. And I was in California trying to help navigate that. And, you know, again, y'all, you know, all these things that we hear about and we learn about and that we talk about, it just becomes totally different when it's your family member. I was listening to one of the plenary presentations this morning, and someone was talking about advanced directives in primary care and what a difference it can make. And us having this place where we met over Zoom every week to record this podcast, it was so therapeutic because I didn't know what to do. My father had always been the person who took care of everything. And anybody who has ever met me knows about my father because I always say the MD stands for my daddy. And when my father made his transition and joined the ancestors, it was right before we were supposed to record. And Ashley called me and was like, obviously you don't want to record anything. And I needed to. I needed us to meet and talk and honor not only my father, but grief. One of my colleagues the other day said in one of our meetings that grief demands to be heard or something like that. I don't know whose quote it is. It was beautiful. And I felt like my grief needed to be heard, and it was met also with kind of unearthing the grief that you were feeling for your grandmother.
Yeah, I mean, at that point it had been, I think, about 2 or 3 years since my grandmother eventually did pass within that space, and it was, I guess, what is the right term? It was like earth-shattering. You know, it was very unexpected. It's the kind of experience that, you know, you try to kind of go back to things as usual and things just aren't. And I think that at the same time, you know, in this profession, we could become very adept at trying to hide grief or hide the difficult emotions that we carry with us. And, you know, we also become adept at not seeing each other, and being able to meet you there, having, you know, gone through something similar, and then also to be able to honor our grief, like using the podcast, was actually one of the most, I mean, I have a lot of favorite episodes, but it was just like one of the most meaningful and one of the most impactful I think we've done.
Yeah, so you might like be looking at us and think, you know, we have all these things in common, like we're generalists, you know, we're Black women, we're academic nerds who come to SGIM, not to be confused with SGIM or SGIM.
No SGIM here.
But we're also very different, and I think I want to say that because I think that some of you, if you're a junior, you might be looking for your missing piece. If you ever read The Missing Piece as a kid, I recommend you read it as an adult too. But when the piece fit into the missing piece, it couldn't sing anymore. You don't have a missing piece. You're not a deficit, coming from a deficit. People do not have to be exactly like you or perfectly fit into you for it to work. I'm having a little emotional moment looking at some of my best friends sitting here in the room, one of whom, Leslie Miller, who's from New York, a Jewish woman who, her background is nothing like mine, but is one of my best friends. And Ashley proved to be this young, queer, Black woman at UCSF who is way younger than me. And I'm
a little younger than
no, you are. No, you way younger than me, because we talk sometimes and I'll say something and she just will not even get the context. And I'll be like, how do you not? Yeah, but I won't do that. I won't. Because she doesn't like when I do that. Like, do you know about this?
It's like, give me a minute. Let me think about it. Maybe.
Yeah.
I got to look it up first.
She don't know nothing about pre-internet days. But who would ever think that somebody 20 years older than you, which is roughly the difference in our ages, could become so close to you in that way? And we think of that only for the classic sort of mentor-mentee thing, but that hierarchy is very flat between us. It's a very bi-directional level of support. But with that connection that requires intention and time over time comes knowing and discernment. And
yeah.
Dang.
I can start.
Yeah, you start.
Yeah, I think that to Kimberly's point, I think, it's just incredible how these seeming divides, in terms of both age and other differences, make you feel like, you don't get to be seen in a certain way by certain individuals, and, particularly mentors and very successful and well-known mentors. So actually at this very conference last year in 2023, I was going through a really, really difficult time. I was in the process of breaking away from someone that I really, truly loved, and I was devastated. It actually happened the morning before I was supposed to get on a flight out to Colorado. Again, as we often do, we become adept at putting the hard feelings away to show up in these professional spaces and to show up in a professional way with the colleagues who are supposed to see only this side of you. And I thought I did a pretty good job showing up and, covering up what was the turmoil that was happening inside of me. I walked into the lobby and I see Kimberly there, and I'd seen different people. I had chopped it up. I was like, all right, I'm good. I'm not gonna fall apart. I'm good. And she saw me and it was immediate. Immediate. Do you remember that?
I was in that big Gaylord center that everybody got 500,000 steps in. I saw Dr. Shelly Ann Fluker in the back, sorry. She was the chair, y'all. Great job. Yes. But I saw her, and as soon as I saw her, I looked at her, and I was like, what's wrong? And she was smiling. It was like people everywhere. You know how SGI, I told y'all, it's the not HBCU homecoming. And she was like, what do you mean? I said, what's wrong? What am I feeling? I'm feeling something.
Yes.
I'm feeling something. And she was like, I don't know. I was like, no, I'm feeling something. Mm-hmm. What is it? And she's like, I'm not ready to talk about what it is. Mm-hmm. I said, but it's something. And she said, yes, it's something. And I was like, okay, yeah. She's like, we need to do our workshop, which sidebar that I submitted and put her on, and then then I told her about it after. But we got through our workshop, and you know how SGIM is. You're just so busy, and you're so busy networking and talking to people that our workshop went great. It seemed like everything was fine, and I kind of got sidetracked and didn't go back to ask, hey, what was that I was feeling? Mm-hmm. And everything things seemed okay. And so I ended up weirdly waking up unusually early the next morning. Mm-hmm. And when I woke up, something told me to pack all my stuff up, which is really odd for me. Dr. Higgins, Stacy Higgins, who's always my roommate at SGIM, knows that me packing my stuff up very early in the morning, that's very anomalous. So I packed up my stuff and had it near the door, and it was about 5 in the morning. It was very early, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll go exercise. So then I go exercise and come back, and I'm just kind of idling. And then I'm standing in the doorway with my bags packed and my phone rings.
Yeah, so that morning, after a difficult conversation, that's when I began to unravel. And, it's the type of heartache that you actually feel physically in your chest, if anybody's ever been there. And, I did not know what I was going to do except call Kimberly. And I had started to try to send a text message to try to explain it, and I just called, and as soon as you picked up the phone, I couldn't talk anymore. And you were just like, where are you? It was just like you were ready for it. You were just like, where are you? What room are you in? I'm coming. And, gosh. It's like you are drowning and someone just, the right person shows up at the right time with a lifeline. And that's who Kimberly was for me at that moment. So she came to the room, and we talked, and I cried, and we talked, and you told me exactly what I needed to hear. I don't know how you did it, but it's just like you knew.
I don't really remember what I said. What I do know is that it was a 2-mile walk to your room in the Gaylord. Yeah, I need to break up that emotion before I started ugly crying on y'all. But I just, I was marveling on my long walk over to her room about how this seemingly insignificant meeting, packed into multiple other meetings, had become this. And I do feel like, whether you're a person who prays or believes in higher powers or not, something happened in the universe that morning that told me to get up and be ready. And as soon as the phone rang, I knew why I was awake. I knew why my bags were packed, because I was leaving early. And, I couldn't have gone if I hadn't been ready to leave and go to her. And I was in her room for a long time. And by the time I came out of her room, all I really had time to do was to go back, get my bag, and call a cab to go. But I just was so grateful that you trusted me. But also, when people are hurting, we can be impulsive. You never know what could happen next. And just knowing that there's somebody who will pick up the phone and you don't even have to start talking. You just where are you? I'm coming. But I think the point of that, though, is this is really about connection, right? And our work is hard. It is hard and it is tiring, and you do not sign up to be a generalist and think that every single hour that you spend, you will get exactly paid for it. It's a ministry. It's really, we give a lot of ourselves, and we'll drown if we don't have people that are connected to us, that see us. And, ask yourselves, is there somebody who could see you when you are flying on one wing, look at you, and know as soon as they see you? I'm not talking about your mom. I'm serious. I'm not talking about your mom, and I'm not even talking about your spouse or your very best friend. Is there somebody you work with who could see you and know? And, again, that wasn't just about me showing up for Ashley. It told me something about myself. It was like, wow, we pour so much into this relationship that here she is, hurting with a big smile on her face, and I immediately knew how off it was. And I'm fortunate to say that I knew how to do that because I have experienced that. I have experienced that with some of my friends that I'm sitting right in front of, and just it is the thing that keeps us going when the going gets tough, and the going gets very, very tough in general internal medicine.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm just feeling like a lot of gratitude for that.
Absolutely. I mean, it just, we think about the things that make the role sustainable. And I think that having people that see you is imperative to make this job sustainable. So often we don't get to be seen, it's like, especially if you're underrepresented in medicine in various ways. And, to be seen in those moments, I mean, it matters. And I also have to take the opportunity to shout out and thank specifically Dr. Corinne Davila and Ira in the back. When you caught your flight, these two were the ones who actually held me down for the rest of the day. And I just realized again how not just lucky, but just grateful I am to have folks like this in this profession, because again, life's, and we shouldn't have to check that part of ourselves at the door.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, one of the ways that we always end our podcast is by telling each other that we love each other. It's because we do, and the best love is love you can feel, and that you know whether somebody tells you or not, but it's good to hear it sometimes. And so as we close out and then open up for some questions, I love you.
I love you too, sis. And I love Jules too.
And I love Mahalia with these Bantu knots on the side.
Mm-hmm.
They work.
Yeah, this was an experiment.
Love you, sis.
That wraps up this week's episode of the Human Doctor Podcast.
Special thanks to our favorite brother gastroenterologist, Dr. Chuma Obiname, for the beats. Shout out to the Dr. Ashley McMullen for editing and production.
Mad love to our podcast family at The Nocturnist and the Clinical Problem Solvers, our Med Twitter fam.
And especially shout out to all of you, our listeners.
Until next week, remember,
we see you and you are enough. Holla!